All right. I'm going to go ahead and get started. And we're talking about rehearsals that move the needle. And, I thought about it. What good is all of this information that you're going to get today if our rehearsals aren't efficient? So I felt that this was a great way to kind of start the day. So we're going to be talking about several things in preparation for successful, efficient, and meaningful rehearsals. And rehearsals can be whether you see them for 5 minutes in the morning, whether it's your class periods or whether it's after school. So our objectives, I will read some things to you today. I know, reading the slides can be one thing, but there are some things that I would like to read to you today. So today, I want to help you create meaningful, intentional, and impactful rehearsals that will propel student learning and engagement while also providing the tools necessary for successful assessments in all areas. So whether that's marching band, whether that's jazz band, concert band, whatever that looks like, small ensembles, we want you to be successful in all those areas. We will also strategize for challenges that are both pedagogical and classroom environment related. We're breaking that into two parts. It's not about knowing what to do, but knowing how to do it. So again, we're breaking this into two parts. This is how the first part is going to look. We're calling it enhancing the musical experience. So we're going to establish and understand and comprehend the routines, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Creating good sounds, effective rehearsal pacing, creating musical and thoughtful performances. And then part two, we're going to talk about enhancing the social experience. Okay, we're going to check the temperature, meaningful but productive breaks for not only the students but for you as well. Celebrating the wins and gains, and then always culture for the win. All right, so let's get into it. So we want to make sure that we're setting. Let me get this little bar. That we're setting clear goals and expectations. It is very, very important that you do that and that you're honest and open about that with the students. With every time you're sitting in front of them, every time there's a student, a chair, and an instrument, you have to be clear about what we're trying to get accomplished with that moment of time. So don't wing it. Okay, be intentional with large and small goals. Okay, set these goals for each rehearsal and share them with the students. Plan each rehearsal to the minute. Okay, what is our focus? Sorry. What is our focus? What is our path to success for this rehearsal? What does point A and point B look like in this rehearsal? And point A and point B will change over time. Point A to point B may literally be two things that day, or maybe one measure. It may be five measures. It may be a bunch of different things, but it will grow with each rehearsal. How do we fix the small pieces to the larger goal? Okay, it is very important that not only you know this, but the students know what we're going to do to fix these steps to get to the larger goal. Okay, and then make sure that you are explaining how they fit, like how this particular piece will fit inside the larger part of the puzzle. Okay, what do the students need to know? What do you need to know? Okay, identify the weakest skill sets and create exercises to strengthen it. Okay, commit to this at each rehearsal and help students identify and learn what to identify as well. Okay, so if this particular moment in time, at these sets of rehearsals, we are working on tone. Okay, be specific. What are we trying to work on tone? Are we trying to get the waves out of the sound? Are we trying to get an open, more warm, resonant sound? Are we trying to fix the breathing? Be specific about what we're trying to accomplish. Okay, and then the ratios. This is where we have a lot of issues, and especially in my position now, I visit a lot of different classrooms. My job is literally to go around to the classrooms and support the teachers. And the one thing that I see a lot of is our ratios are slightly off. Excuse me. So make sure that the ratio of skill building to music learning is proportionate to the level of your group. Okay, where you are in the process and where you hope to be do not abandon skill building too early. Okay, like continue to build the skills, and as you continue to build the skills, the performances and the music preparation will be that much easier and that much more clear. Oh, sorry, I don't know how that happened. And then one more piece to this. Please remember that the student input is key to the buy-in and the retention of skills. So the days of do this because I said so, or do this because it just giving very bare minimum answers. We're past those days. The kids have to have buy-in and stock on what's going on and why. They have to understand the why. I know what to do, but I don't know how to do it. This is probably one of the largest areas of focus that I'm going to kind of be on for this presentation, but just teaching altogether. I feel that when I observe and when I judge and when I'm working with class teachers or students, a lot of people, we're doing things just to say that we did it. We did the warm up, we did the scales, we did the dynamics, but we don't know how to teach it in the moment. We're just doing it for the sake of doing it. So there are three things that we must think about in helping the students produce good sounds. That needs to be first. Okay, and there are three pillars. And if you hear me name drop, it's not to like boast or anything like that. It's because I like to credit people. So if I heard something and I know where I heard it, I will definitely credit that person. So the first time I heard this was with Dr. Myra Roden. Many of us know her. Some years ago, and I was watching her teach a rehearsal, and she kind of ran these three things off, and it stuck with me. This may have been about 10 years ago. So number one, is it in tone? Number two, is it in tune? Number three, is it in time? Okay, so in tone. So we're talking about posture, air, embouchure, attack, sustain, and release. All of those components have to be hit every single time those students make a sound. And you need to think about how are you going to address posture? How are you going to address the air movement? How are you going to address embouchures? How are you going to address the front end of the note? In all the different ways you're going to hit the front end of the note. What does the sustain look like? What drills have you created to create good sustains of the notes? And then what drills have you created to make good releases? Okay, are they more abrupt? Are they going to fade into the hall, into the silence? There has to be some type of intentional drill or something that teaches the students to not only perform that skill, but be able to identify when that skill is being performed correctly. Okay? We want to make sure we're also doing things that allow for high rates of success in those drills. So maybe the first time that you do a drill, here's our benchmark. Here's what we're trying to get accomplished. And then let those kids be successful on that step before you move to the next step. Okay? In tune. Okay? This is where you're going to start teaching the students how to address individual instrument lengths, and then you're going to work on sectional balance, ensemble balance, things like F around the band, tuning sequences, and cross-sectional tuning. So basically what that looks like is now that you've created the drills for the students to make good individual sounds, okay, I can take a great breath, I can start with a great attack, I can have a great sustain and duration to my note, I can release the note properly. Great, fantastic, you're on the right road. Now can you do that with the person beside you? So that's the next step. And you have to create the drill that allows the students to hear what that sounds like and what that looks like with the person beside them. Are the breaths in unison? Are the attacks aligned? Is the sustain and the duration of the note the same? And it doesn't matter if the instruments are, but in this particular portion, we're doing it with like instruments. And then we're working, once those two things or several things are kind of in place, the intonation will kind of start to fix itself, and or the students will be able to identify when it's bad. Okay, unison playing. Okay, and this, and again, I think I can't see everybody on here, but right now I learned that from Seda 20 years ago. Like, unison playing is the one of the biggest things for great ensemble intonation. Keep the kids playing in unison as often as possible. A lot of us, and we love lush chords. Oh, I love chords, all these beautiful extensions and sevenths and ninths and tritone substitutes and all these things. But if a kid can't simply play a concert F and tune together and move up and down a scale together or play an A2 together in unison, those chords will never be balanced. They'll never be in tune. Okay, teach students how to recognize in tune and out of tune sounds. Like, literally build your class period or a moment of your class period just doing that. Ask the students, what do you think? One thing that I do, a quick little formative assessment tool, is I will ask, raise your hand if you think such and such is sharp. Raise your hand if you think such and such is flat. Raise your hand if you don't know. And now I can quickly gauge and get everybody involved in that process. And some will get it right, some will get it wrong, and then from there, you know what to do next. Sharp is always hard for the kids to hear. It's very, very hard for the kids to hear. It's hard for the adults to hear. So make sure that you're working that skill. Okay. Sectional balance, side to side listening. How does the student sound with the person to the right and to the left of them? Okay. And then ensemble balance, triangular listening. How do they sound right to left and either the person directly in front of them or directly behind them? What does that sound feel like to them? Create the drills that get them aware and thinking of those things every time they make a sound. And then lastly, in time. So you got it in tone, it's great, great sounds, intonation is great, but if the timing is bad, those things can create all types of problems. So now you have to create exercises and skills that build timing, okay? So number one, get off the podium. Too many of us are on the podium, and like, you probably shouldn't get on the podium until just a couple rehearsals before the concert. Like, get comfortable with working on some of your conducting gestures while you're moving throughout the classroom. You have to give the students the autonomy to learn how to play in time for themselves. I'm a big metronome component, fan, but at some point you gotta pull them away from it and let them just get in there and play on their own. Okay, teaching subdivisions. Okay, please make sure that you're teaching subdivisions. I can't tell you how many times I've adjudicated all state auditions, second round, like these are our top players, and they get to the sight reading and they subdivide incorrectly. And these are all state caliber players. Okay, make sure that you're teaching subdivisions. Get the kids thinking of the eighth note triplet, the 16th notes all the way down. Build exercises that teaches them to subdivide, and their reading capabilities will get stronger, and their sense of timing will get stronger. Teach the student, like I said earlier, teach them what your conducting gestures mean. Okay, so like, if you want a little bit more, if you want a little bit less, and this gives you an opportunity to practice your conducting gestures while you're moving around. Have conversations about what that means. Don't just assume that because you're conducting bigger, they're going to play louder, and you're conducting softer, they're going to play softer. Don't assume that they know that. Don't take that part for granted. They should not see a new conductor on performance day. They should not. We get close to the performance, and now you got our pretty suit on, we clean, we got the dresses on, got the heels, we're doing all of the things, and now you doing all kinds of stuff that you've never done before. That creates anxiety for the kids. Everything that you've done on that podium, you should have rehearsed. And I'm not saying choreograph, but I'm saying at some point you should have rehearsed that type of gesture so that the kids know that we're having a clear communication moment right now. A couple other factors for consideration. The musicality piece. Okay, and the musicality piece is more than just crescendos and decrescendos. Okay, Thinking about the contour of the line, the natural crescendo, the natural decrescendos, accelerandos, decelerandos. Incorporate those drills into simple things like scales. Okay, so if you're doing like, and it doesn't matter what level you're on, if you're working with elementary school students, all the way up to the collegiate level, maybe just take the first three notes of the method book, or first five notes of the scale, or the entire scale, whatever it is, and give them small drills and exercises that allow them to learn what the contour of a line looks like, and then kind of reverse it. Okay, crescendo, decrescendo. The line is ascending, crescendo, decrescendo on a descend, and reverse it. I love to use the crescendo on the way down. I kind of use it in my teaching often because often when we have a decrescendo, we lose tone, we lose pitch. So teaching them to crescendo on the way down, um, and then have the students identify themselves. Give them the opportunity. Have a couple students play and say, I want you to make a musical decision, whatever you think it is, and just have them do it. Just get their brains in that space so that they're thinking about what a musical decision looks like. Have the students talk about it. What did you hear Susie do? Well, I heard Susie when she got to measure two, she did a crescendo right here, and then okay, now they hear it. Now they recognize it. Did you like it? It was cool, but I think when it's okay, well, you try this, and just getting your classroom synergized that way. Now they're thinking with the musical brain. And then when you want them to do something, they'll now have the capability and the capacity to do it. Okay, another analogy I love to use is that water moves the boats. Okay, so identify who is who. Who is the water in this situation and who is the boat? The boat is typically the melody. So the melody typically won't have to do a lot of work if the water is doing the right thing. So identify what that looks like. Sometimes that's on a larger scale, and sometimes it's on a smaller scale. Okay, it may be three players. You may be doing a certain chamber piece. You may be having a chamber section in a larger piece. Identify who is who. Okay, and again, always ask for student input on these thoughts and decisions. Okay, ask, who do you think the boat is in this situation? Who do you think the water is? Okay, do we want big waves? Are we going surfing? Do we want nice, gentle, sitting at the beach waves? What do we have them create that imagery, and then the success for musical performances will go up. Okay, rhythm and reading. My apologies. Okay, at least 15% of your weekly rehearsal time. Okay, and the closer you get to an assessment or performance, the percentage should increase for sight reading. So the biggest thing that you want to understand is that rhythm work and sight reading work, they are not the same thing. Those are two different skills that need to be worked in isolation. Yes, rhythm reading will help the sight reading process, but the sight reading process is its own thing. And when you're practicing sight reading, you're not working rhythm. You're practicing the process of, I'm going to start and we're going to go to here with no stops and no breaks. And then you close that and then you move on to another sight reading excerpt. Rhythm work is the continual drills of that rhythm, the counting, the clapping, all of the things that go into understanding that rhythm, the subdivisions. Okay, so make sure that we don't confuse those two skill sets. Okay, and then lastly, let me backtrack for a second. When you're working on rhythm, okay, make sure that you're working from the smallest component to the largest. And when you're working on sight reading, start from base level. Even with your collegiate kids or your grade 6 kids, start with base level whole notes and just moving through a progression and seeing how long they can keep all of the things that we talked about before. How long can they stay in tone, in time, and in tune? Okay. Moving on to recording. This is where I struggle. I struggle with this. I still struggle with this. Come try to get active with a lot of conducting clinics, and it's hard to watch the videos, but you have to record yourself, and you have to record your rehearsals, and you have to record your students. So examine your teaching. Okay, should you talk less or should you talk more? 9 times out of 10, you should probably talk less. We talk too much. Learn how to get your your points out quickly so that the students can get more reps. Moving around the room, boom, 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 that's the information moving. And then sometimes you may allow 2 or 3 reps to happen before you give information. So that way you can kind of clearly see what the pattern is. Then give them information and move on. And again, we talk too much often. Okay. Recording yourself will help that. Use audio and video. Okay. So maybe one day without any type of prompt, set your phone up, hit audio record. Boom. One day without any type of prompt, set a camera up in the back of the room and just record a rehearsal. Okay. Then reflect with the students. You can make the decision on whether you're going to tell them they're recorded or if it's a surprise, whatever it is, reflect with them. Build that into your rehearsal time. Okay, maybe this rehearsal is just that reflection. Maybe I only have 20 minutes today, and we're just going to talk about this video. What did you hear? What did you see? Whatever that is. Okay, build in quick, worthwhile assessments that force students to evaluate their work. Formative assessment, and basically you have formative assessment and summative assessments. Formative assessments are the quick things that you do to just kind of check for understanding, things that you're doing on a daily basis. Create very small and quick things that'll be efficient. So having students play down a line. So one thing I love to do with the beginners is just literally having them create a sound in the mouthpiece. I call it don't break the chain. So Johnny will start on a mouthpiece, buzz for 4 counts, next person, next person, next person. If someone misses the timing, misses an entrance, or whatever the case, whatever stipulation you give for that game for that day, you got to start over from the beginning. So, oh no, got to start back over. Okay, do it again. And you just kind of, now you're engaging the students while building a skill, while making it fun. So just little things like that, and they'll get better. They'll get better and they get better. By the time you get to mid-semester, now this is another tool in your box, and then you can do all of the different things. And as the students get stronger, the demand should get higher. Okay, maybe it's 8 counts, maybe it's a crescendo decrescendo, maybe it's an um, ascending line or a descending line, and then you do that with playing. You do that, whatever the case. Maybe hey, I want to hear everyone play measure 25. You go right down the line, or whatever that is. Creating those things constantly, so now you can hear and have a touch point with each student in your ensemble, and the students can now hear it because now they can hear who was doing it correctly and who needs a little bit of assistance. Okay, public service announcement. Okay. This one right here is probably the most near and dear to my heart. Okay. And I can't stress this enough. I just literally cannot stress this enough. Warm ups and skill building are not the same thing. Woo, I'm telling you, I can't tell you how many times I go into a music classroom or on the marching band field, and we do the warm up just to say we did the warm up. So I want you to think about it like this. And I know we have warm ups that, are extensive and have a lot of different things that we're hitting, the long tones, the lip slurs, the dexterity, all of the things, the flexibility, all of the things, the ultimate warm up, and, all of the things. You've heard them all. If I'm an athlete, particularly like a football player, basketball player, we get excited about hitting the gym. We get excited about the workout. The warm up is what happens before the workout. The warm up is that 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is, to get your body loose, get your mind ready for the workout. What happens is we call our skill building exercises warm ups. So now the kids think that we're warming up for the entire class. You have to differentiate and separate the two. Our warm up is this. Maybe it's just some air. Maybe it's just whatever it is. Maybe it's a buzzing on a mouthpiece. Maybe it's just Maybe the warm up is individualized. You give the students 2 or 3 minutes to warm up on their own, and then you start. Whatever that looks like, be clear that here's the warm up, and now here's the skill that we're working on today. And then get people excited. Create ways and figure out ways to get students excited about going to the gym. Okay, so maybe this day we're learning two chromatically adjacent scales. We're going to do concert F and we're going to do G flat. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever, kids. Get them excited about what that looks like. Maybe it's range building. We're going to try to extend the range on all of the brass instruments by one partial today. Get the kids excited about that and let that be the class. So now they're not waiting for the warm up to end. When we gonna do some music? When we gonna do some music? We gonna do music today. We working out today. We hitting the gym today. And just like the football players get excited about it, and you kind of see in this picture, you know what I'm saying? Create that kind of environment. When a student has now played a scale that they couldn't play, they now can hit that new partial, they can play at a new tempo, they can play with better clarity. That classroom should look and feel like that. And now skill building is something fun for the students, and you're going to see exponential growth in your classroom. If the student can't identify it, they can't fix it. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. If the student can't identify it, they can't fix it. We often fix too many problems for the students without them even knowing that there was a problem to begin with. You're sharp, you're flat. They didn't hear that. So they're going to be sharp or flat again. You have to teach them to hear that. You're rushing, you're slowing down. They didn't hear that. You have to teach them to hear that. So teach them to hear and assess and how to correct. And now, when you get closer to your performances, you have a more active ensemble that are working together, and you feel that synergy in that ensemble, and something meaningful is going to happen. All right, so we're kind of shifting into the next part of this. Okay, so talking a little bit more about the social emotional part to this. Okay, I'm drained, the kids seem out of it, and the music just isn't musicking. Okay, you're gonna have to take a moment and kind of assess. So this is the second part, enhancing the student experience. It is important to remember that students must feel connected to the experience and to their colleagues and to their friends. All of those things has to happen. Okay, it is even more important that you, as a director, make connections with the students. This experience, while beneficial on a multitude of levels, should be fun, rewarding, and worthwhile. And this is really, really important because we are always in a state of emergency when it comes to getting kids in our classroom, keeping kids in band and orchestra and chorus and all of the things. So if they're just not having a good time, you can't expect them to want to stay. You can't expect the parents to want them to stay. They have to have a good time in your classroom. So here are a couple points and a couple things that you should be doing. And a lot of us may already be doing these things when you come to professional development. Sometimes you just need positive reinforcement. And sometimes you grab a couple nuggets that you didn't think about. I'm like, you throw that in there. So number one, allow time for laughter. And I can be an intense person. I'm just going to be honest. I've gotten better as I've gotten older. Um, but even in your most serious or intense moments, you have to allow a little bit of laughter, just a smile, just something that makes the kids, number one, feel welcome, and I'm making the right decision by being in this rehearsal today when I could have went to Waffle House or whatever the case. There has to be something that reminds them. Just kind of break it, okay? Um, Temperature checks. This is something that I learned a little bit later in the game, but is the most important thing you can do as a teacher. And if you think about it, most of us have some type of survey that we have to do for school climate or admin, productivity, or whatever the case. And some of us do it, some of us don't. Some of us use that as an opportunity to really bash our school admins, and some of them deserve it, some of them don't. It's neither here nor there. But when do you do that for yourself? When do you have a temperature check about how the students feel about you in the direction of the program? You have to do that often. How are they feeling? How is school going for them? How invested are you in the things that they do outside of your classroom? What happened at lunch? How is home life? How are their grades? How are they handling the breakup? They coming in, they crying, they just broke up with their boo. How are you going to handle that situation? Or is it just shut up and play? How did they perform at the game last night? Maybe they had a softball game or a volleyball game or a track meet or whatever the case. Just taking the time to ask those questions, number one, shows the students that you know that they have something else going on outside. Hey man, I was at the game last night, boy. I saw you drop 15 to 15 last night. And that kid would be smiling ear to ear. Mr. Brooks, I didn't even know you like basketball. Well, you know, I used to play back in the day till I realized I wasn't gonna get no taller. And that's how I ended up doing band. And now you have a whole different kind of conversation happening in your classroom. Now that kid feels seen when you come in, when he or she or they or them comes into the classroom. They feel seen. Okay. How do they feel about the music preparation? How do they feel about the classroom environment? These are conversations that you should have. Um, I remember a couple years ago, we were coming off some really, really successful years. Things were kind of cooking. I can't really lie. Things were going really well, and we hit a year where I just kind of felt like the kids were really, really off or just down, and I couldn't figure out why. And I just kind of stopped. It was like the energy was just so off, and I was like, you know what? I took a big hat, like a big. We had like some type of Alice in Wonderland thing going on. So I had a big Mad Hatter hat. I said I want everyone to write down. I put a couple questions on the board. I said I want you to answer this question. I don't want you to put any names on here. I want you to write this down, rip up the paper, and then drop it into this hat. And the questions were like, how do you feel about the direction of the program? How do you feel about me as a director? And then something about how do you feel about the experience or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. And have the kids just drop them in. I did it for every single class. And I read every single one of them. Collected them all, and it kind of went back to class. And then in my planning periods and after school, I read every single one of them. This is where I learned, number one, you got to have guts to do that. It's going to take a lot of guts because if you know you got kids in your program that don't like you, they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you, and they're going to use that opportunity to, and I took that risk, but I needed to know. And it was very successful. I only had one out of box situation, and we kind of identified what that was about, and we used it as a moment. But I went through all of those things, and then I addressed all of those things in all of the classes. They kind of talked about the results in a large, overarching conversation, and we talked about it. And what I learned was something different for each class. My ninth graders, my woodwind class, I was blessed to have a woodwind class, which was 95% ninth graders. It was their first period class. And I learned that they didn't have a problem with me. They didn't have a problem with the class. They enjoyed everything that was going on. They just hated it was the first class in the morning. So with that information, I now know that when they come in, we got to do something different to kind of wake them up. So I incorporated a stretch routine into that class. So we came in, then got to do a whole 1-2, got the instrument stands, all of the things, sat down, and we just did 3 minutes of just standing up, stretching it out, play some nice yoga meditation music, and just kind of just got them going. And instant change. Instant change. Second period class was a brass class. They were the complete opposite of the woodwind class. Rambunctious, off the wall, off. So we needed to calm them down. You know what I'm saying? They're wired. So we used the same approach, but we used it in a way to kind of get them centered and get them focused. That instant change. Um, the jazz band class was the jazz band class. I didn't really have a lot of issues with them. The advanced band class, which are called the wind ensemble, they're the older students, and they just always have so much going on. So built in time for them to just have time to do something else. So whether that was a study hall, whether that was just 15 minutes of getting that assignment finished that they didn't finish, or whatever the case, just giving them those little bits of nuggets to show them that you care about something other than them getting this superior performance. They come in with more life, and I saw things just kind of go up. The trajectory of the program went up. So temperature checks. Okay. And then lastly, break the monotony. Okay. Flip your room around, go play outside, go play in the cafeteria, go do some, like, break the monotony of your day-to-day routine. Like, your day-to-day routine should be unroutine, if that makes sense. Like, build in points throughout your week or throughout your month in your lessons and your units or whatever that looks like, that we're going to do this. And then have pivot plans. Okay. I plan on going outside, but it's raining. Okay, what does that look like? Okay, like, just continually break the monotony, and that helps, especially with the younger kids. Okay, director impact. Cannot express to you how important this is. Okay, the person on the box is the most important player in this equation. Okay, it's not the principal, it's not the assistant principal, it's not the parents, it's not the kid. Okay, because we like to blame the students for our lack of dot dot dot. Okay, the director impact is the most important factor in this whole thing. Okay, productivity. This is a direct reflection of the synergy you created in that classroom. At the end of the day, why do the kids want to spend their time making music with you for a couple hours a day? We talk about recruitment and retention. You're not recruiting your program. You're not, I mean, you are to a certain extent, going on the trips and going to the games and doing all of the things and doing the parties and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, they're sitting with you for 50 minutes, 45 minutes during a class period, 10 minutes early in the morning, tutorial, and then another 2 hours after school. Why would they want to spend that much time with you? And you have things that you need to work on about a lot of different things. Okay, quality in every facet of the program is a shared effort, but the vision is curated by you. Okay, this is our vision for the program, and when you have a vision that people can believe in, they will trust you. When there are holes in your vision, the questions come from the admins. The questions come from the parents, and your community stakeholders. You have to have a clear vision on every facet of the program, and then people will trust you. And then burnout. The students know. The students know when you are burnout, and just like you know when they are. And if you're facing burnout, ask yourself what factors are contributing to it. How can I course correct? What does that look like for you? Okay, and as adults, we deal with so much. We deal with our own kids, we deal with our marriages, we deal with our parents and life and bills and all of the things. But the kids deserve your best at all times. And it's okay as a teaching moment to tell them that you're not at your best. And when you're in that space, if you've created the right type of synergy in your classroom, the kids in your classroom will now become empathetic learners. And they will know, okay, Mr. Johnson, his mom just passed. So we're going to do this for him. We're going to run class. We're going to reorganize the library. We're going to create this fundraiser. They're going to start taking more ownership because they know now that you need it. Or maybe it's just something as simple as a card. Just them recognizing that you're having an issue as well, just like you took the time to recognize that they're having an issue. And when you have that type of classroom, that's where the magic happens. Take breaks. Give yourself take breaks for yourself. Balance your time by creating healthy schedules, and give yourself grace if the large goals didn't happen that year. So Maybe one of your goals was, I want to have 15 additional people. I want my trombone section to be larger. I want to play a grade 5 piece this year. I want to get a superior at assessment this year. I want to get a first place, whatever that goal is for that year. If you didn't get it that year, as long as progress happened, give yourself some grace and teach the students how to give themselves grace. It's often that we'll sit there and coach our kids up on how to get through an anxiety attack, or calm them down, and it's okay, you're doing great, you're awesome, you all, but we don't do that for ourselves. We don't give that coaching to ourselves, and then we find ourselves spinning out, and the kids will notice. So give yourself grace and include the students. They don't have to be necessarily in all of your personal endeavors, but they do need to know what's going on in all facets so that they can now be better stakeholders in the program. All right, so we won't have a lot of time, but I do want to kind of keep this window open to unpack some of this stuff. Okay, so what are some of the challenges that you're having in your rehearsals? And again, rehearsals can be whether that's you see them for 5 minutes in the morning, or whether that's your class period, or whether that's for after school. What are some of the challenges that you're having? Be specific. Okay, one thing that I tell a lot of the teachers in our district is that the answers are often in the room. Somebody has experienced that and figured out a solution. And there's so many wonderful resources, and people are like jumping out there and sharing information. It's just so much information in these spaces. So I want you to think about it for a second. If you have one you want to share, feel free to unmute, and we'll try to unpack it the best we can with the time that we have. So take a second to think about that. And again, if you have something you want to share, go ahead and unmute, and gonna go from there.
I have a question, Adam. So let's say I am a first year teacher at a new school, don't know anything about the ensemble prior to, let's just say marching band. I'm a marching band director. How would you approach the first day of camp or the first rehearsal with your students?
It's a great question, and we have people that are in that situation, especially if you are starting a high school program for the first time. So, number one, what research have you done prior to rehearsal one, or um, camp, or whatever that looks like? So, again, kind of going back to your clear goals. So, it's okay to set your goals. It's okay to set, and here's what I would love to get accomplished with this week, this day, this hour. But then you also have to have a pivot plan in case you don't. What I would encourage everyone, if you're starting any situation, is to treat them as if they don't know anything. You know what I'm saying? And then move up, as opposed to treating them like they know everything and scaling down. The scaling down makes students feel like you're dumbing things down. Like if you walk into a room and you expect them, okay, I expect everyone out here to be able to know how to march 8 to 5. And then you start the first exercise and you realize they cannot. And then you ask, okay, what happened here? Like start that formative assessment process, okay? What happened? Why didn't we hit the line on count 8? Or if it's playing, okay, you assume everyone knows how to breathe and start a note together and you did not, okay. Tell me, like start asking those questions. And the quicker you can get students involved in the process, the quicker you can assess what they know and what they don't know. And then you can start building a larger plan going from there. So that's how I would approach any situation, whether it's a high school situation, a middle school situation, and then what you don't know, get around somebody who does. Like that first day, hey, I'm having a lot of problems with getting my kids to march 8 to 5. Who are you calling the second those kids lead at rehearsal? Okay, how do I do that? And then you start the process, and then you can give somebody a call, to Jack Eady's a call, to Eric Prince's a call, and say, hey, how do I do this? Okay, 8 to 5. You want to make sure step one off the line is even. You want to make sure step 4 is in between the yard lines. You want to make sure step 7 is one step off the yard line. Then you want to work on drills that teach step size. You want to do all of the things and then start streamlining your rehearsals. And just keep the main thing, one step at a time. And then whatever you don't know, find somebody that does know how to do it. That's how I would approach any situation um, for the first time. We probably got time for maybe one more. I only have one slide left, so we probably got time for one more. If anybody wants to jump in there. One man show with 7+ ensemble. What is your suggestion to keep? Make sure I'm reading that right. Hold on one second. One man show with 7+ ensemble. What is your suggestion to keep a high quality performing program and ensemble without experience burnout? Sometimes it feels like should just focus on certain ensembles with high quality. Okay, so now that's a great question. And I struggled with this for a long time. I've never had a big marching band. I've never had a large program, and I struggled with that for a long time. And it was tough because worked in a nice area, had great kids, great parents, all of the things. Um, and I used to like beat myself over the head because we didn't have the numbers, and all of my counterparts did. It's hard to go sit down and have, a bourbon with James Seda, and he got 200 kids in his marching band, and I got 25. But at some point, I just simply stopped worrying about the numbers and I focused on the quality. Quality is everything. It is your job to give those kids, however many you have, 5, 6, 7, 70, 700, to give them the best experience that you possibly can. And when you shift your focus to that, your experiences will now change because now you will see their growth, and that's all that really matters. So what I would do with that 7 piece is make sure that those seven kids can play. Number one, because when they can play, they'll feel better, and then when they feel better, that 7 may turn into 10, and then that 10 may turn into 12. And if it never gets to 100 and it only gets to 25, you went from 7 to 25, and all 25 of those kids can play. And I would just focus on the quality, and focus on their experience. Are those 7 kids excited to see you when they walk in that room? Are they excited to get better? That's all that matters. That's literally all that matters. Here's a question I wanted to like kind of throw out. Imagine you had to teach and you weren't able to do any type of assessments, any type of competitions, any type of spring concert, holiday concerts. How would you now teach that class? What would be your gain from it? If you seriously take the time to think about that, it's going to come back to the students getting better. That is your reward. When you opened up your mouth and that kid sitting right there did something that they could not do 5 minutes ago, that's the reward. So that's what I would focus on with those 7 kids. And then if you want to kind of get into your braggadocious stuff, you put your 7 kids up against anybody else's 7. My 7 will run circles around you. Put them up. You know what I'm saying? We can go down the street, play at Publix, or we can go and do a solo and ensemble, or whatever that looks like. All these beautiful arrangers that we have out here they welcome the challenge of mixed ensembles and putting things together. Just make those 7 kids have a great time, and then your experience will be better.
Can I ask a follow up question to
Yeah.
Chris? And Chris, I know you typed and said you couldn't speak out loud, but maybe you can type it in the chat. Are you saying you only have 7 kids, or are you saying you have 7 ensembles by yourself? Because if you got 7 ensembles by yourself, I think that's going to change Adam's
Yeah,
response to you.
that changes it a little bit. But yeah, is that which he has 7+ ensembles.
Yeah, he has seven
Okay.
ensembles by himself.
All right. So yeah. So now, okay, that it doesn't change it a lot. The main thing is the main thing. You still want to make sure that all of those kids have, the best experience. But the reasoning is a little different now. If they're having the best experience and there's autonomy in your program, they will learn how to make your job easier. You know what I'm saying? Because that sounds like a deeper issue of why you don't have another director there with you. And I can attest to that. I didn't have a lot of students in the program, but I had 6 ensembles going out the door at any time. I had, and this was all year long. So I know that feeling. And I did um, the pit the pit orchestra for our musicals. So I did that my whole career. So I know what that feels like to have 6, 7 ensembles going out the door by yourself. I've never had an assistant director working in the door. But if you focus on making sure that those kids have a great time and you teach them all of the facets of the program, those kids are smart enough to figure out how to help you. They're smart enough to figure out how to get the band room cleaned up, how to do your inventory. They're smart enough to figure out how to do the music inventory. They're smart enough how to create social, emotional parties and things. They're smart enough. They're smarter than you think, and you, they're smarter to have a rehearsal without you. You know what I'm saying? So like, hey y'all, we rehearsing on Tuesday and Thursday this week, but I've arranged with my admin or whatever the case that you can use the practice rooms or whatever the case, and you have built that trust. They can get things done without you, so that way you can kind of take the time that you need to not feel that burnout and express that, share that with them. Hey guys, I'm struggling a little bit here. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing this by myself, and here's where I am. And just be open and honest, especially if you're dealing with high schools. Um, be open and honest about those things because they're experiencing the same things too. And when they have that kind of buy-in, they'll have a deeper connection with you, and they'll start doing things without you even having to ask. So that's kind of how I would approach that. Appreciate you, brother Noah. Appreciate you. So yeah, so that's I'm gonna hit this last slide, and we'll go ahead and get ready to shift this thing on over. Um, So great questions, and if I missed a couple in the chat, I apologize. And I have all of my contact information on here. So if you want to, give me a call or shoot me an email, we can most certainly chat offline. So one thing I want to leave you with before we head out today: remember this: the needle will not, the needle will move. My apologies. With intentional planning, thoughtful teaching, and allowing the students to have complete access and buy-in to every part of the program. There should be nothing that they don't understand, from how we're going to uh, tune this major chord all the way to how we distribute uniforms. They should understand each part of that program. And when they have that understanding, they have now created a more bought in system of thinking. When you leave them out and you exclude them, and I know we do it because we hoard information and we don't think they need to know everything, but the more they know and understand, the more they'll appreciate what happens in the end. They may not say it every day, they may not say it out loud, but they will appreciate it. So just keep that thought in mind as we kind of get ready to go into band camps and start the school year. Just be intentional with everything. Every minute of rehearsal, be intentional about it. And your connections with the students, be intentional about them. Even if it's just one or two more students this year that you got more connected to, that's a win. And you're going to start seeing exponential growth in quantity and quality in your programs. So that's my email address. I know a lot of people in the room. If you have any questions, just shoot me. I'm really open to trying to help as many people as I can and learning from more people. So just shoot me an email. We could chop it up. I'm not in the classroom on a day-to-day basis anymore on my own classroom. So I do have a little more time. So if you want me to come out and sit with you for a day and just observe and see what I see, or provide some suggestions, or we want to do a Zoom call or whatever that looks like, I have availability to do that. So I hope you all have a great, great, great school year. Go in it with the best intentions in mind. Pivot when you need to pivot. Take the break when you need to take the break. Oh, and one last thing on that line: stop doing so many rehearsals. You know what I'm saying? I know we want to get the thing, but the more rehearsals you give them, the more rehearsals they have the opportunity to miss. So scale some back. Make the rehearsals more intentional and more important. They won't miss them. But if you have it every day, twice on Sunday, they're gonna miss something, and you're gonna be mad, and you're gonna get burnt out. So things to remember. Hopefully, this information was great for you, and I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful school year.
Thank you, Adam, for such an awesome clinic this morning to kickstart us. Everybody, we have an amazing lineup of clinicians for today. Real quick, I want to make note of in the chat, I shared with you a Google Drive throughout the day as clinicians share resources. We will upload those resources into that Google Drive. So please share it. If you end up missing a session that you really want to for whatever reason, you can always go back to that Google Drive. It'll be in there, the resources that that presenter may have shared through their presentation. So real quick before the next session start, we're going to play a short video for you with some information about MBDNA and what upcoming events we have. And then we'll introduce our next presenter.